My name is Robert. I am a news magazine editor by profession. I've always been a humble employee who serves with honesty for the society I work for. I was born and brought up in Washington. My wife was a housewife and my father worked in a shoe factory. Our financial situations were not fine since the start, and my father had to work hard to earn a living. He always worked with honesty, and I knew I had to do something to improve my standard of living. So I was a bright student from the start, and I always secured good grades in my school life. I loved newspapers and the cartoons and comics they had. I worked as a comic artist too in the beginning for a renowned newspaper in my country. And then I qualified for the job of chief editor in the same newspaper. I got the job and it seemed as if God had answered my prayers. I was happy that day, and I told my parents about the news. They were also very happy. We used to live in Washington, and since I grew up there, so I never wanted to leave my city to move out for work. Now I have a good job in my city. I could be close to my parents and spend my life in the city I grew up. I had a special bond with Washington. Our neighbors when we lived in our old house were very nice and gentle. They had a daughter named Olivia, and we were good friends when we were in our childhood. And when we entered our teenage, we fell in love with each other. They moved out of the town and used to live in another area of the same city, so we could still meet and be together without being in a long-distance relationship. That had something different about her, and I loved her as much as I could. She finished her high school, and after completing her degree from the university, she started to teach at the same university she graduated from. We studied at different universities, so we're not class fellows. We used to be class fellows in school until 7th grade, and after that they moved out of our town and shifted to a new town. I still remember how we used to go cycling and play with each other in the park. Both of us were the eldest of our siblings, and we were very close to each other. When we entered high school, we committed to each other and kept our relationship a secret. We never shared it with anyone. We would meet every weekend and spend time together. We usually sat along the riverbank, and in the cold we enjoyed coffee and talked about our weekdays. We were comfortable with each other in every sense. As time passed, our love grew stronger for each other, and after our graduation, we married. We told our parents about our choices, and they both agreed. So we decided to get married. After our marriage, we lived happily, and we knew each other well. So we fought less and enjoyed the beautiful moments we had. Then I got promoted, and she completed her master's and started to teach at the university. She was a botany teacher, and now she also got promoted at a young age and became head of the department. We were successful in our careers at such a young age. We made a good amount of money by the end of the month and lived happily married life. Each morning, we would wake up and get ready to leave for work. We made each other breakfast on alternate days and cared for each other. We were happy with each other. After my promotion, I got badly occupied with my work and my routine was disturbed. I came home late and my personal life was affected. But yet we were happy with each other and loved each other. I could never imagine a life without her. But then things started to become weird, and I felt as if my wife had started to lose interest in me. I asked her about it and shared my feelings with her, but she would always smile and say that these were just my thoughts, nothing. In reality existed like that, so I carried on with my life. But my wife was mostly behaving weirdly. I ignored these incidents and the time flew a year past, and then what I came to know was the most disturbing and painful fact of my life. Something I would never want to happen if I was asked about it. I never knew what destiny had for me in my future. It was a normal Sunday and I had gone to the supermarket to fetch some groceries and other household items. It took less than usual time. Olivia was at home and she was busy with the kitchen and cooking. I purchased all the items and left for home. When I reached home, I didn't park my car inside. Instead, I left it on the road because I had to leave again for some work. When I entered the house, I heard my wife talking on the phone. She had no clue that I had returned. She was talking like lovers talking with each other on the phone. I was shocked to see her talk in this way. I recorded her, and I understood that she was having an affair with someone at her work, and she had cheated on me. I felt like the earth beneath my feet had disappeared. I was frozen and shocked at the same time. My heart started to sink. It was very difficult for me to believe my ears and what I had seen. I could never expect such an act of unfaithfulness from her, and I could never dream of her cheating on me. But now, this was the harsh reality I had to face, and it was a bitter truth. I could not run away from this fact. My wife was having an affair with someone from her workplace. I pretended to enter the house after listening to their complete conversation and recording it, and then placed the shopping bags on the kitchen shelf. I had tears in my eyes, and I left. I sat in my car and started to cry. I had no idea what to do. I had seen a nightmare, and it was a factual nightmare. I was crying, and I could not face the fact. Everything started to make sense now. I was at least interested in not bothering about our personal life, and I could feel her love flowing away. This was all because she was having an affair. But what's done cannot be undone. I could reverse the time or change the reality. She was having an affair, and I could not understand the reason behind it. I had no idea about what to do. I was broken. I drove away to the spot where we used to meet in our student life, and I sat on a bench. I was seeing the water and birds flying across the river that was flowing. Everything was bitter after the moment I found the truth. I was hurt and depressed at the moment. I sat there for hours, crying in pain and misery. I had never thought to cheat on her, not even for a single time. And there she was, cheating on me, and I even had no idea when she was cheating on me. I was depressed and heartbroken, and wanted to hurt myself for her. I sat for some more time and went home. She had cooked dinner, and I sat at the dining table, but I couldn't eat anything that night. When my wife asked me about it, I lied that I was not feeling well. She told me that she had important lectures the next day, and she had to sleep. So she went to the bedroom to sleep. I sat at the dining table and kept on thinking about the incident. I could not forget the words that I heard in my ears. They were piercing my heart. I felt hopeless and helpless at the same time. The next day, I took a day off and told my wife that I was going to work. She had planned to take a day off from her work and hide it from me and go on lunch with that guy from work. So I dressed in my office clothes and sat in my car and parked it at the street end. I wanted to see everything with my eyes. After a few minutes, she was dressed in her favorite dress and she drove away. I followed her and she stopped in front of a fancy restaurant. She sat by the window seat. I could see her from inside my car. Then a man came and she hugged and kissed him. When I saw the man's face, he was James, Olivia's colleague. I never thought about him in that way. I took out my phone and clicked pictures and recorded videos of them sitting together and holding hands. I burst into tears and drove away. I went home and now I had to do something. I wanted her to confess, but I never wanted to make her confess or blackmail her or torture her. But what could I do in this situation? I just sat in the living room and thought about it. After crying and weeping, I came up with an idea. I would leave my wife and divorce her. I made up my mind immediately to divorce her and to continue my life without her. I knew it was very difficult, but once I had made up my mind, it seemed less painful. I could never trust her, and the bond we shared was broken. I could not forgive her, even though I thought of trying to forgive her, but I couldn't. Divorce seemed to be the best option, and after that, I had to move on. So I called my lawyer and told him about the incident, and I asked him to prepare the divorce papers. He told me that it would take 1 day to prepare the papers, so I agreed, and I asked him to deliver the papers directly to her office. He agreed, and the next day, he delivered the papers to her office when she was at work. He called me after delivering the papers. After about an hour, my wife came home and she was crying. She asked me to forgive her, and I told her that I had already found her dark secrets and affair. I was not willing to spend the rest of my life with a dishonest girl like her. She told me that she wanted to meet other people, and she had been with me since the beginning. She told me that she never had a chance to explore other people except me, and she wanted to do so. That is why she made the mistake of cheating on me. I just listened to all her excuses, the ad still. I didn't change my mind, and I asked her to sign the papers. When she signed the papers, I took them and asked her to leave my house. James was already planning to divorce his wife because of the affair, and I wanted to show his wife all the evidence I had. So I went to his house. He was not at home, and I showed her the evidence. She was outraged, and she started to cry. She was hurt because of his husband's affair. She was upset and depressed, and so was I. So she asked me to accompany her, and she came home with me after meeting her lawyer. She divorced him, and she was sitting with me on the sofa. She put her head on my shoulder. She was upset. I held her hand, and we started to talk. After some time, we felt comfortable with each other, and we kissed. I had no idea how did it happen, but we slept together that night. I liked her at once. She was appealing, and I was happy about her being with me. We both had the same stories. Our partners had cheated on us, and we were depressed because of them. The next day, her husband called her and asked her to meet her for the last time. I accompanied her, and they met. James regretted his mistake. He had signed the divorce papers, and she demanded her part of the property. James refused. But when she told him that she would sue her in court only then, James agreed. She called her lawyer, and the lawyer had already made the papers. He signed them up, and now she had got her part of the property in cash. She was happy, and she asked me if she could stay with me for some time. I agreed, and we came close to each other. She was better than my ex-wife in the bed, and I was pleased more than ever with her. We talked and lived with each other for some days until we realized that we had developed feelings for each other and wanted to stay with each other for the rest of our lives. We took our time and thought about it. In the end, we decided to marry. We were happy that we found someone to spend our lives with and were not alone. We stood by each other in those difficult times when our partners had cheated on us and left us hurt and depressed. I received a call from my ex-wife. She was telling me about her present life, which was miserable according to her. I was happy and felt lighthearted when she told me that she and James were not together anymore. I told her about my new marriage, and she cried on the phone. I told her that they both got what they deserved. I had already told my parents and her parents about how she cheated on me, and I showed them the videos and recordings and pictures I had on my phone of them. Our parents were hurt, and Olivia's parents disowned her and told her not to contact them after such a disgusting act. I was satisfied with my life. Sarah and I lived happily with each other and never faced any problems. We were sincere with our ex-partners, and we also stayed honest, and loyal to each other. So we gained each other's trust, and our married life was happy and blessed now. Now, when I think about my ex-wife, I thank God for saving me from her and blessing me with such a beautiful woman for my entire life.